Welcome to the Monday Night Meltdown, where war drums are banging, oil roads are blocking, and somehow, Putin is the one asking everyone to calm down. If you were hoping for peace, stability, or gas under $4, I regret to inform you we've entered the group chat from hell. But don't worry, I've got receipts, sass, and exactly one parenting win to balance out the geopolitical chaos. Let's get into it. Let's try to keep up because this story is moving fast and nobody seems to be telling the same version of it twice. The U.S. hit 3 Iranian nuclear sites. Iran responded by voting to block the Strait of Hormuz, which controls nearly 20% of the world's oil flow. That's not just regional drama, that's global. Then came the missile strike. Iran launched an attack on Al Udeid air base in Qatar, where U.S. forces are stationed. They immediately claimed responsibility. It wasn't vague, it wasn't anonymous. They owned it. And just when everyone expected another round of escalation, the U.S. stepped forward and announced a complete and total ceasefire. They said tensions had been resolved. The news cycle shifted. But Iran, I guess, didn't get the memo, or maybe they just rejected it. Their foreign minister made it clear there is no ceasefire. At most, there was ongoing discussions with conditions attached. One of those conditions, Israel needed to stop its attack by 4 a.m. Tehran time. Spoiler alert, more missiles were launched after that. So no, things aren't cooling off. They're getting harder to follow. And conflicting statements aren't helping. Here's how the media is spinning it. Left-leaning outlets are warning this could spiral into a broader war, pointing to the U.S. as the aggressors and emphasizing Iran's strategic hold on global oil. Right-leaning coverage is praising the U.S. strikes, treating the ceasefire claim like a win, and portraying Iran's response as weakness, even though Iran flat out denied any agreement. Center coverage is doing its best to keep up, reporting both claims and acknowledging that the facts on the ground don't match the headlines. Bottom line, there's no confirmed ceasefire. There are still missile strikes, and the Strait of Hormuz, the artery of the global economy, is sitting in the middle of it all, surrounded by warships, diplomacy by denial, and a whole lot of wishful thinking. If you're struggling to follow the story, that's not a you problem, that's the world we're living in. So, while the US is claiming peace and Iran's is still launching missiles, guess who decided to show up with a calm down statement? Putin. Yes, that Putin, the one currently invading Ukraine, just told the world that the U.S. is pushing things towards greater danger. And I hate to say it, but for once, he's not wrong. Let's talk about that. The world's on fire, literally, and now Vladimir Putin is out here issuing statements like he's auditioning for the Nobel Peace Prize. Yes, that Putin, the same guy who steamrolled Ukraine, is now saying America's the one pushing the world towards danger. Here's the rundown. Iran's supreme leader sent his foreign minister and a handwritten Dear Vlad, please help letter to Moscow, following U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iranian nuclear sites. Tehran wants Russia to lean in harder. Putin, never one to miss a chance to flip the script, publicly slammed the U.S. bombings as unjustified and framed Russia as a helpful, level-headed mediator, which is rich considering his own hobbies include land grabs and gaslighting the entire West. And now, the coverage chaos. Left-leaning outlets are calling the U.S. strikes unprovoked and groundless aggression. They're pointing to Putin's condemnation as a sign the U.S. is diplomatically isolated and losing the moral high ground. Big, look what you made him say energy. Right-leaning coverages are praising the strikes as a brilliant military success, while portraying Iran as a hostile actor rejecting peace. They're not thrilled about Russia's stance, but they're laser-focused on Iran's escalation and Muslim world politics. Center outlets highlighting the facts. Putin's quote, the request, Russia's strategic balancing act, and quietly freaking out like the rest of us. Bottom line, when the guy invading his neighbor and silencing dissent is the one handing out de-escalation advice, you know the scriptwriters for Earth are unhinged. So, just to recap, Iran's on offense, the U.S. is on edge, and Putin is suddenly the international guidance counselor no one asked for. While the big players throw missiles and moral judgments, the rest of the world is still doing weird stuff. Let's rapid fire the rest in your daily dose of unhinged headlines, aka quick hits. Elite professor wants Iran to symbolically strike a U.S. base. Well, someone needs to take the Twitter app away from academia. An elite university professor reportedly called for a symbolic Iranian strike on a U.S. base because nothing says tenure track genius like cosplaying geopolitical arsonist. Abortions are up in 2024 thanks to telehealth. A new report shows abortion rates are climbing due to telehealth access to prescriptions, especially in states where in person clinics are banned or barely functioning. Women still finding a way. Marjorie Taylor Greene turns on Trump's team over Iran. Yes, you heard that right. MTG is accusing the Trump crew of pulling a complete bait and switch on war with Iran. When the far right chaos agents start screaming betrayal, you know something's melting. Greenpeace goes full anti-Bezos in Venice. In a poetic clash of billionaires and gondolas, Greenspace rolled out a protest banner in Venice, slamming Bezos over tax breaks. Nothing says eat the rich like doing it on the canals of capitalism. NYC rolls with ranked choice voting in mayoral primary. Ranked choice voting returns to New York City, where voters now get to say, I like her best, but I'll settle for him and absolutely not that guy. Democracy with a backup plan. Trump media company is tanking, so he's buying it back. Trump's media stock is spiraling. So what's the solution? Spend $400 million buying it from himself, because nothing says confidence like screaming buy low while the ship is still actively sinking. So, while the rest of the world is breaking records for chaos and questionable decisions, I had a little breakthrough of my own, one that didn't involve foreign policy, missiles, or billionaires. Let's pivot from global collapse to domestic triumph in today's Tell Me Something Good. After weeks of my twins treating every meal like it was a personal betrayal of the booba, we had a miracle. Last night I served up my pot roast, fully expecting it to be ignored like every other carefully prepared offering. And they actually ate it with their mouth on purpose. Was it the tender beef, the perfectly seasoned carrots, the fact that I'd completely given up on trying to impress them? Doesn't matter. What matters is they ate real food. That's not just a win, that's a turning point in the war for table dominance. Booba still reigns supreme, but pot roast is now a recognized ally. And that's your dose of disaster, diplomacy, and dinner table miracles. If the world survives the Strait of Hormuz, in Iranian missile strikes, and Vladimir Putin's peacemaker phase, I'll still be here, holding it all together with caffeine, sarcasm, and the power of pot roast. Like, share, scream into the void, whatever feels right. Just remember, if my twins can finally eat dinner, maybe there's hope for the rest of us too. See you tomorrow.